Good morning, guys. It's Carl. Got up earlier this morning than I normally do, so I got to the office. I'm actually talking to you from my office here at Oak Creek. I just want to visit with you about something that's been on my heart this morning. You know, one of the things in ministry that I've been asked time and time again, and if you're a Christian, you've been asked this: why do bad things happen to good people? There's a lot of different reasons that bad things happen to good people. One of the biggest things probably is simply that our mistakes have consequences. A lot of times we make mistakes and we want God to fix everything, but there's consequences for our actions. When David committed adultery, and there was a child that was brought out of that, there were still consequences for that, even though David was repentant. There were still consequences for the actions that he did, and even though God does forgive us, sometimes there are still consequences. Number two, life is about seasons, and sometimes God has to allow situations in our life to happen so that the things that aren't healthy to us can die. Just like in the fall and the wintertime when things begin to die off, without those plants and trees dying off and turning into mulch and getting into the ground, putting nutrients into the ground, then spring would never happen and the growth would never happen. And a lot of times in our life, I believe God does allow things, situations in our life so that things, the parts of us that aren't going to help us down the road are going to die off, so that when the season moves on and becomes a season for growth, that we have something to draw from when it's time for us to grow. David, back when he killed Goliath, he cut off his head with Goliath's own sword. Further down, if you continue to read, you find that when David was on the run, he stopped and asked if there was a weapon in the temple. And the priest there said, "The only thing I have is the sword of Goliath, and you could take it." And David said, "Give me that sword. I know that sword. I know how it swings. I know the weight of it. I know how it cuts through the air. I've used that sword before." And that sword represents our testimony. Things happen to us sometimes in our life because somewhere down the road, somebody is going to need what we have. Somebody is going to need what we've been through. They don't necessarily want to listen to a preacher in a three-piece suit. They want to listen to somebody who's been there. They want to listen to somebody who's experienced that. And not only that, but whether it's a failed relationship or a situation that's happened in our life, a death or something like that we just don't understand, when we come in contact with people who are in that same situation and we draw from that testimony, we draw from our past, we draw from that bad thing that we've been through, that God has allowed us to go through, then that allows us to minister with more compassion. That allows us to feel what people have felt and actually be able to tell them, hey, it's going to be okay, and know that it's going to be okay. So, bad things do happen. Why would God do that? God doesn't do that, but sometimes God does allow things in our life. Sometimes it's a result of our own actions, and sometimes God allows it because those things that have to die off are needed so that when it's time to grow, we've got something to draw from. And also, the things that happen to us when we've gone through it, we can more effectively help somebody who's going through it in our future. Somebody needs what you're going through right now. I know things may seem bad. I know things may seem hopeless. I know you may just feel like quitting and giving up, but please understand this. Somebody needs what you're going through. Somebody in your future, somebody that God has already ordained to come across your path, is going to need what you're going through right now. Don't give up. Trust God. Fall in love with Jesus again. Remember, love is a verb. It's Carl, and I'll talk to you guys later.